are extremely happy to have Ori Eisen on the show.
How do you know that I'm not a very good trained AI model on this guy called Ori Eisen?
I don't.
We are on the last leg of knowing who you are, and the way the Trusona team is solving it is by going to the actual DMV and say, do you have this document in your records? If you go back in the 90s, username and passwords were the most prevalent way to authenticate. We went through 20 years of patching, layering, adding, band-aiding. Every time we saw a move, we did a counter move, a counter move, as you'd expect, almost like in a game of chess. And now you have a situation where the bad guys are using these tools to mimic us, because the odds are they'll make a better fake than the real that you think you had. That's where we are.
If you have a company or a business that makes money, a criminal can and will make money off that same business.
Do not say, I don't have money for security. We're giving some of it for free to all my competitors. This is patent pending. You were warned.
You were warned.
Now back to our regularly scheduled program.
I'm Brett Johnson, former United States most wanted criminal, now good guy. In today's world, criminals come in all shapes and sizes, but they all have one thing in common. They all have criminal thoughts. On today's episode, we are extremely happy to have Ori Eisen on the show. Ori is the CEO and founder of Trusona, and he's going to talk to us about account takeovers and about his new product, ATO Protect. Before we get to that point, you know we got some stuff to handle. We got to check in with Brian to see what the state of cybercrime looks like.
Conservative writer Erica Anderson wrote earlier this month in The Federalist that Dolly Parton's support of the LGBTQ community was false gospel. Anderson specifically said that Parton invoking her Christianity as the reason she is inclusive is wrong, referring to the LGBTQ as immoral sexual behavior and unaligned with God's vision for humanity. The post caused a windfall of right-wing vitriol aimed at Parton. Many people rallied behind the homophobic outcry, while a huge contingent defended Parton.
So they're canceling Dolly, they're canceling Dollywood, they're canceling those big old boobies, they're canceling Dolly Parton. She ain't gonna be working 9 to 5. She's probably gonna be hanging out with Jolene. I don't know. They're pissed off at Dolly Parton because she's a Christian, and Dolly said, hey, I am inclusive. I like the LGBTQIA, however many initials they've got these days. She said she liked them, she supported them, and they went fucking nuts. Here's the thing, guys. Do we truly believe that a loving God is going to discriminate against his creations? Do we believe that? Do we believe that homosexuality or wanting to change one's gender or what have you, do we believe that that is a choice? Are we to believe that people who are gay just make that choice? No, we're not. And let's be clear. The Bible is not correct on everything. It's got a lot of truth in there, but there's a lot of bullshit in there too. Okay? There is. So let's admit that. Let's admit that Pope Francis was correct when he said, hey, really, everyone's born good. And they went fucking apeshit about that. Now Dolly says, I support the LGBTQ community, and they go fucking apeshit about that. How about we pay attention to that one part of the Bible where Jesus, if you've not committed any sin, you can throw the first stone. Yeah, you see? Now, you can't do that because you guys are fucks and hypocrites, and if there is a hell, I hope to hell you split it wide open. Brian?
Scammers never run out of ideas aimed at separating you from your money. Quishing, short for QR code phishing, much like smishing and phishing. uses subterfuge to direct you to bogus sites in an attempt to get your personally identifiable information, such as social security number, username or passwords, date of birth, or debit card number. It involves scammers posting signs with QR codes on them in high traffic locations or sending them via email or text.
All right, so I'll bet money Brian has no clue
I have no idea
where I'm going with this story.
No idea.
Not a clue. I mean, the logical bet would bet, since I am the cybercrime guy, would be that I would go down that path. That would be incorrect.
Right.
When I saw this article, the way that I read it, and I still read it that way right now, the way that I read it is there's a new scam called queefing. Here's what it is and what you need to know.
Or quiching, I don't know.
No, it's queefing. Any listeners out there that don't know what that is, you might want to look it up.
Urban Dictionary.
Urban Dictionary is what you need, along with the Boston Steamer and the chili dog. And all that stuff. I'm not going to spell it out here right now, but look, hey, we're talking about, they're talking about QR crime. So for those who may not know what a QR code is, that's a little thing that you're supposed to scan with your phone where you can't tell what the fuck it says because it's all these little blocks and little shapes there. And that's a QR code. Here's what I say. Unless you know where you are going, unless it's, this is where you're supposed to be going, do not click on any links that you don't know. Do not scan any codes that you're not able to verify or anything else like that. I do not like QR codes. If I'm at I travel a lot. These days you're in the airport, you sit down to grab a meal and they've got those QR codes to pull up the menu, to order online, all that stuff. I am not the guy that does that shit. Typically I'll go in, grab a seat, call the waitress over. Do I have to order through the phone? And if the answer is yes, I'll find someplace else. But that's me. So do not click on anything or go anywhere where you're not able to see before you try to do it, where you're not able to see where exactly you are going. Always be suspicious of QR codes. My advice is stay the hell away from them. Brian?
Queefing.
Yes. All right, so that was the state of crime segment. Not much crime going on there, except this last little tidbit. So for those who watched the Brett Johnson show, you guys know that I called out a local church here in the Birmingham area a couple of weeks ago. There was a 28-year-old having an inappropriate, to say the least, inappropriate relationship with a 15-year-old. Had been messaging her ass on, let's not say ass, had been messaging her on Instagram and had told her, hey, don't tell anybody about it. Well, that did not sit well. My youngest found out about it. I told him what he needed to do. He went up to church, handled it. Well, between the both of us, we handled it. All right. Long story short, the youth minister did some victim shaming, did some victim blaming, questioned her authenticity, everything else. Finally, Carson, well, not finally, very quickly, my youngest went above his head to the main pastor. So what ended up happening is the gentleman who was contacting the minor, he is no longer part of the church. And the pastor was very good about sending out a memo, a newsletter, everything else. Now, would he have done that had we not been raising hell? Probably not, but at least it happened, so we get kudos for that. Now, here's the thing. While I was doing this research, I pulled up this statistic, which is absolutely shocking. There were a lot of statistics in that show, but this right here, there's if you'll show us that little pie chart there, Brian. So that pie chart, that shows where the money goes typically in church costs. All right. So the number one, what churches spend more money on than anything is wages, salaries, hours, stuff like that. Makes sense. Makes fucking sense. Here's the thing though. The number two cost for church, sexual misconduct. Between insurance, paying off people, sending preachers to Timbuktu until people forget about them, getting rid of the victim so that the church members don't have to see them. And when I say getting rid of the victim, I'm not talking about going down to Home Depot in a Tyvek suit and buying a 55-gallon oil barrel, a bag of lime, a shovel, some duct tape, and a handsaw. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying they send the victim to some faraway state someplace and put her up, at some other compound somewhere until people forget about her too. But think about that. The number 2 loss
crazy
for churches is sexual misconduct. Now, that does not mean sexual harassment, because that's on down there in the pie chart. So the number 2 loss for that. The reason I brought that up, I know there's a lot of church people in the United States. I would hope one day to get there myself if the church doesn't fall in on me when I walk in the door. But there's a lot of church people out there. And I don't think that a lot of church members really appreciate that. It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. So what I would say is, if you see something, say something, because as was shown a couple weeks ago when this happened in our area, the people who had seen something were not saying anything. And some of the people that were trying, like my youngest, he was trying to get this story out so the church team could do something about it. And there were a few attempts to derail that. So by all means, remember, if you see something, say something, speak out, speak it loud, and keep on banging that drum until something is done about it. And that is the State of Crime segment for today. So today's Crypto Corner, Brian, if you don't mind, if you could take just a second to pull up the cover of the book, The Boys Club by Matt Furie, F-U-R-I-E. So, because that's what we're going to talk about today on today's Crypto Corner. And I think it's kind of neat. So while Brian's doing that, again, I've talked about this over and over and over again, the 2 main blockchains during this bull run. And we are nowhere near the apex of the bull run yet, but the 2 big blockchains during this bull run is Base Chain, which is basically the Coinbase blockchain, and also Solana. So Solana is a rival, a competitor to Ethereum. Think of Solana as being better than Ethereum, but with very minimal gas fees. Sometimes if you're on the Ethereum blockchain and you're trying to send someone some money or just transfer to another wallet or something like that, the gas fees, the charge that Ethereum insists that you pay for them moving from one wallet to another, can be a few $100s. So Solana's not like that. Now, because of that, now here's the thing, guys, this is what you got to remember. Because of that, most of the fraudsters are flocking to the Solana blockchain. All right. It's estimated right now that 50%, over 50% of all of the current crypto fraud happens on the Solana chain. So I say that because it's very important to do your own research. It's very important not to feed into this fear of missing out because someone's told you online, or you've seen a TikTok video, or some influencer said something to buy into this token. It's going to do really well. No, you need to take your time, do your research. So this right here, that is the cover of Matt Furie's book, The Boys Club. Now, the characters that we have there, starting at the upper left hand, we have Land Wolf, followed by the blue guy, Brett. Bottom green guy is Pepe, and the yellow dude is Andy. What's really interesting, and I credit this a lot to the crypto influencer Rex Paddock. His at on Twitter is Invest with Rex. He's got a couple of Telegram channels as well. He pointed this out yesterday, and hell, I'd already been kind of thinking about this, but the way he talked about it and solidified it, I wanted to address that because I think he's completely right. So right now in crypto, the only thing that we're seeing that is really pumping value, is really making people a lot of money or costing a lot of losses, are meme tokens. Every other token that's not a meme is kind of fucking around a little bit. But those meme tokens, by God, we're seeing extremely explosive growth on there. What's interesting is that there's one main meme token specifically that tends to be doing really well. And those are tokens that are related to Matt Furie's Boys Club over on Brett on Base, for example. Base is the base chain, Coinbase's blockchain. So Brett on Base, that token in the space of just a few months, since like January, that token has went to over 1.3 billion with a B, $billion valuation. We've got Pepe that's over on Ethereum chain, and Ethereum in the space of 200 days, 200 days, it hit $1 billion. $1 billion. Now I think it's at 3.2, something like that, or it's 2.2 or 3.2, which leaves us with Landwolf and Andy. Well, we're seeing these Matt Fury characters used as memes that they are exploding in a meta type fashion. They are exploding on different specific blockchains. So the meme to buy on base chain right now is bread. Fucking period. That's it. All right. The meme to buy on the Ethereum network is Pepe. That's the big one. All right. That's the dude right there. So the question becomes, and the reason for that, all right, so right now, these blockchains, BNB, Solana, the Ethereum chain, base chain, all these blockchains here and centralized exchanges, they are seeing, with the exception of the two big ones that I told you about, they are seeing a decline in the people who are using those chains. For example, no one's fucking using Ethereum because of the gas chains and because Solana is doing a better job. Yes, Ethereum is still going through the roof. Yes, Ethereum is going to have an ETF. Yes, all that stuff. People are going to become hugely rich or just broke dick poor on the Ethereum chain. That's going to happen, but we're still seeing a decline in the numbers. So a lot of these chains, a lot of these exchanges are trying to basically come up with their own mascot. So that's what we see with Brett. That's what we see with Pepe. We are seeing that right now on the Solana chain with Landwolf. And Landwolf's been alive now, I think 7.5 days. Started, Rex called it on his Telegram channel when it was $10 million. Right now it's at $205 million market cap. Just to give you an idea, I put 4,000 into it. See what it's actually at right now. And the liquidity is high enough that I would only lose about 3% on a cash out. So my Landwolf right now on a $4,000, I will call it an investment because I had little, I didn't really think anything that I was going to not make money on it. But right now it's at $64,000. So I could cash out about 54 in hand right now on that. But the thing is, because of the volume with that token, because of the number of holders, it's got like 16,000 holders already, some crap. It's got some extraordinary amount of holders in a very short amount of time. Because of the number of holders, because of the valuation and the volume, we can see that this absolutely is going to hit $500 million. And then from $500 million, it will go to $1 billion. And here's the thing to remember about meme tokens. Anytime a meme has hit $1 billion, it has done a multiple of that amount, period. There's been one instance where it's not. I think it was Bohm was the one that hit $1 billion but never got past that amount. So that is today's Crypto Corner. And with that, I see that Mr. Ori Eisen, the man with a plan himself, has joined in with us. You know, I followed you for a while since I became this good guy, and I know some of you. I've seen the Super Bowl picks. You know, I've seen the new products that you've got coming out. I've seen time and time again how you have campaigned against passwords and been very effective with that. So I mean, you've been an extremely effective fraud fighter.
Thank you.
And developer. So I would really like to know a little bit about Ori. Where were you born? What caused you to go into fraud? All that good stuff.
Yeah, I'll give you the 2-minute version of that.
There we go.
You know, when you're 4 and people ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't think there's a single person who ever said, I want to be a fraud fighter, because you don't even know that fraud exists at that age. So I fell into it like most of us. In the year 1998, I invented a website called ewiremoney.com. Remember that period where there was e-loan, e-trade, e-whatever? And I was the first to move money on the internet a year before PayPal. And one day I get a phone call from Visa, and what do you know? They're telling me that 3 out of every 5 transactions that I'm passing through are fraudulent. And I'm saying to the guy, what do you mean they're fraudulent? Here's an authorization code on every single one of them. It says, us telling you there's money in the account does not mean it's the identity of the card member. And if this was a store, it would be on us. But because it's on this internet of yours, it's on you. So either learn your data and see what not to do, or we're shutting you down. Man, that was a wake-up call for me. So that night, I started looking at the data, and guess what did I see? I saw credit cards and phone numbers in New York City with IP addresses in Nigeria for the first time I looked.
Wonder why that was happening.
Yeah, so literally that's how I fell into this space. If you know my history, I was hired then by VeriSign and Network Solution to protect their estate because they bought the most expensive company at the time for $22 billion, but 19% of revenue was lost to fraud. It's all documented public information. So here I am with my little knowledge about me moving money on the internet, going to do that work. We reduced the fraud to less than 1%, and then Gartner and everybody else kind of perked their ears and said, tell us how you did this. I find this job fascinating. I'll say that to you because every 3 weeks we have something new, something different that keeps us on our toes. I've never seen a single month in which everything is staying exactly like last month. and that's part of it's like the pursuit, it's the hunt. I just love it. I then became the head of fraud at VeriSign. After that, we thought about starting a company based on the software I invented. As you know, big companies say things, but they don't mean things.
I have found that out.
Yeah. I got a phone call from one of the largest credit card companies in Phoenix, and they said, why don't you come and do whatever you did for them, for us on a global scale? I moved my family to Phoenix. Just for, posterity, the first thing that came out of my mouth was, I will never live in this oven. That's what I said when I landed in August for my job interview. 20 years later, I'm still there. I was about to
say, how long you been there now?
A long time. I spent some time at the credit card company, learned a lot, and then decided I want to kind of build a business that anybody can protect themselves if they want. And you'll see that's a theme in my career. I want to democratize security. Why?
Right.
Because the big guys, they spend $1 billion a year on their networks, and they might still make mistakes, by the way. But the smaller guys almost like aim to get there, thinking like that's like some sort of a level that once I'm there, fraud will not touch me. There's no day like that. So I want to make it easy and open. With the company I opened about 17 years ago called the 41st Parameter, we helped merchants fight online fraud. It was then acquired. I thought I'm going to just do charity work, which we can talk about if you want. Sure. And then 4 months later, the whole idea of, you know what, passwords just suck. I hope you don't have the 7 words here on TV I can't say. And Trusona was born. And I'm super, super happy that you're hosting me today because if people don't know, if you're a first-time listener, you are one of the people in our industry that just says it like it is. And that's why I'm honored to be here.
Ori, I appreciate that. I do. And you're one of the guys that, like I said, you've been doing this a long time, man. I mean, you truly have. And the work that I have consistently seen from you has been nothing short of amazing. I mean, it's every day you're out there banging that drum, trying to raise awareness, trying to protect people, trying to protect businesses. And sometimes it works. Sometimes people will listen and sometimes they won't. But at least you're doing that. And that's more than most people out there are doing. So hats off to you, man. Let me ask you, since you have been fighting fraud for so long, how have you seen it change from when you first began to today?
I will separate it into 3 parts. When I first began, then what happened around 20 years ago, and then what happened 18 months ago, which changed everything again. So if you go back in the 90s, username and passwords were the most prevalent way to authenticate. KBA, if you remember those, knowledge-based authentication.
Oh, yeah.
And the underlying assumption there was that bad guys will never get to the credit bureaus. Bad guys will never get to this data. What do you mean a breach, right? That was the assumption. And it kind of worked, I must tell you. But then when we started seeing the breach of the day, and that happened about 20 years ago, what changed on us, the good guys, is the fundamentals. It's almost like the rug was pulled from underneath you, where now if I ask you, have you lived in this address? And the bad guy is a customer of one company that provides such information, you're toast, and you just don't even know it.
Right.
So we went through 20 years of patching, layering, adding, band-aiding. Every time we saw a move, we did a counter move, a counter move, as you'd expect, almost like in a game of chess. And then came 18 months ago, the moment that I think we still, as a society, do not understand the full impact of, and that's when AI and Gen AI have become a tool for the bad guys to generate either deep fakes or all kinds of wonderful things we can talk about.
Right.
We are not prepared for this. There, let me just say it.
I would agree.
We're not. That's it. Like,
But
you don't know that it's me talking to you. That's where we live now.
I mean, that's true. And when you say we're not prepared, but you know, I've not been doing the good guy side of things for too many years. But in the few years that I have been here, it's like a lot of people aren't doing a lot of the stuff they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and again, you run a great company and you do damn fine work. And people know that. Anybody who has ever talked to Ori Eisen or looked at Ori Eisen's products, his team, the companies that he's ran and owned, you know that, by God, he does what he needs to do. He absolutely is stellar with this stuff. And it's amazing to me that, and I'm sure that the companies that you sell to, they know that too. But you know as well as I do that you've got that management out there that, we've not been hit yet.
Yes. People buy insurance after the flood.
Yeah, exactly.
So
when it's too late.
Yeah, I totally have seen it time and time again. To anybody who's listening to this show, I will say this. It's very difficult for people who listen to a vendor who joined the dark side, so to speak, when they tell you something, to separate, are they telling me these things because they want to sell me something? They have a quota to meet? Or are they telling me these things because they would tell them to me if they were just sitting to me next on an airplane and just tell you, this is what you should be doing, regardless of who you're doing it from,
right,
or with. So my style has changed, definitely, to say this to people. This is not I begin my calls with, this is not a sales call. This is a practitioner's call. Let's talk about what we see. Now, if after we talk about what we see, you tell me, I got this, all my defenses are capable of defending from what we talked about, this call is over and I'm going to clap. Here's one of the companies that is doing everything right. It's just that people refuse to believe that there's vendors, I'm saying it again, who are just there because they want to see one thing happen, and I'll tell you what that is. And if you read my sales decks or our website or talk to our team, we have a very simple mission. And let me tell you what it is. It's to curb the funding of evil. You, Mr. Customer, are just a way to do that, as opposed to you are the target. You are what we're trying to do. What does that mean? If you run a website that sells shoes, for the sake of example, and you're lackadaisy with your security, you're enabling bad guys to steal money, to steal credit cards, to steal stuff. And then, unfortunately, the money that they take from you is used for 5 things that are even worse than the theft itself.
Right.
Human trafficking, narcotics, weapons, like all kinds of stuff that, God help us, that is way worse. If you want to stop seeing buildings fall in New York, you need to start with the financial wherewithal of, how did they get this money? If you follow the money, you will see. So I just want to plug the holes where bad guys go to get money. And you, Mr. Customer, are just a way for us to accomplish that mission. And if you can't be in that conversation, then what conversation can you be in? I
agree. And you know, that's a very, the way you break it down there, I think a lot of people don't appreciate that a lot of the crime that is committed, unless they're crimes of desperation, a lot of the crime that is committed absolutely needs a bankroll. You know, you can't fly planes into buildings if you can't afford the ticket or the explosives or the weapons or whatever you need.
Or the training to fly one way, yes.
Right. You can't do that. You can't commit credit card fraud if you can't afford to buy the cards, the stolen card data, or you don't know how to pay for it or can't pay for it.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right. This whole thing of cutting off that money supply, I think, is a very, very good idea. I truly do. And I wish more people would understand that, but you know, we'll get there. So, hey, let me ask you. So I guess it was a week and a half ago. Me and you sat down over Zoom or Teams, had a meeting, and you were showing me this new product, ATO Protect, and I really like it. I really do, and I know we're going to talk about it here in a second. But what I wanted to mention is back in the Shadow Crew days, we were we were the first group that did really ATO in an organized fashion. But, so we were doing ATOs, and when an account takeover, that's what an ATO stands for anyone listening. When an account takeover took place back then, really the only thing you would need is that person's PII and enough to answer the KBA, as Ori pointed out, the knowledge-based authentication questions, the security questions that pop up. Right. You needed to be able to answer that. Well, back then, it was very easy to get that information. We would just simply send out a lot of phishing emails, get a very small percentage of those phishing emails that would respond, but they would. And when you fished people out back then, you could literally ask 20 different questions, mother's maiden, driver's license, date of birth, social security, and you could ask all that stuff, right, and they would fill that out. So ATOs back then were very, very easy to do. But as time went along, the victim companies and the victim individuals, they started to implement some security to stop how easy it was. So as they were doing that, and you touched upon that through your career as well, and you saw this, as that would happen, criminals would adapt and add a new technique. So over the years, we got to the point where criminals would fabricate driver's licenses online. They would steal browser fingerprints. They would try to copy through proxies the correct IP address. I mean, any number of things to try to appear more legitimate online. Have you seen the same thing? And am I correct on that or not?
You're absolutely right. That is exactly the progression we've seen, including the VPN. Just for first-time listeners, when you heard the words PII, it means personally identifiable information. Just so you can follow what is happening is if your bank says, well, if you'll call me and I need to verify it's you, I'll ask you these questions, and they're about you. If the bad guy can glean the answers to these questions, either by phishing you, and you're the provider, or by third party, or by a breach of another company that you gave the same answers to, your account is now theirs. It's that simple. Account takeover, the only gate for an account takeover is the questions or means or credentials that are between you and your account, or in this case, the bad guy in the account. And what I showed last week is, unfortunately, with generative AI, if you heard about OpenAI or about Midjourney, all these softwares that can create images, let me tell you, you show them a driver license, they can make any driver license you want, and it would look perfect.
Right.
So what does that mean? So 18 months ago, we were robbed as the good guys from the opportunity to scan something visually and say, is this real or not? That's it. It's out. Unfortunately, the Gen AI stuff looks better than the real stuff now. And the second thing is, you can't believe the data that is on it, because what we don't know, is it really on this document, or they've gathered it from a breach and just put it on here. Right. And now they're holding a document that really doesn't exist. So who's the arbiter? Who is the authoritative source to ask, is this real or not? And you see how the world simply shifted. And that's what I showed you last week, is unfortunately today, visual stuff cannot be trusted. My voice cannot be trusted because it could be perfectly mimicked. We can show some demonstrations. And now you have a situation where the bad guys are using these tools to mimic us. Right. So how should the bank know if it's me or not? So I'm now at the edge of the line. Let me just be super clear. I don't know what comes after this. As in, like, if we were 7 steps ago, I would tell, if they do this, we'll do that. If we are on the last leg of knowing who you are, and the way the Trusona team is solving it is by going to the actual DMV, which is no small feat, and say, do you have this document in your records? Because if you just stole my name and address and maybe date of birth, and you try to kind of put together a document, it will not work, because the DMV has all kinds of stuff only they are putting on the back of their driver license. Right. And that is usually not something consumers would know, or you would enter, or would be in a breach. And that is, remember how 20 years ago we assumed that this data is safe? I'm making the same assumption now. So the day you tell me all the DMVs in the United States have been breached and all the data is readily available, I will hang my hat because I don't know what to do after that to really
Well,
know
you're
if
not
it's
going to
you
be
or
hanging
not.
the hat anytime soon, right? I mean, let's be honest. You're not.
Well, you tell me, how will I know it's you? Tell me the method, other
that's
than
the
meeting
thing,
you in
right?
person.
Yeah, other than meeting me in person.
Yeah.
Other than me, that's the problem. That's the issue. And you know what I've seen with these days, and we talked about that, and I want you to touch upon that as well. If I am, say, Brett Johnson decides to go back into his former criminal career, absolutely, I'm going to be looking at stealing identities. And the reason for that, and I've talked about this in numerous presentations, I used to teach on Shadow Crew that all crime should begin with identity theft. Why would I commit a crime under my name if I can do it under yours? Especially if you're local. That way, when the cops show up, I know it's time to find another victim.
Yes.
So identity theft, especially with cybercrime, identity theft plays an important role, period. Criminals need to steal accounts and take them over to milk money out. They need to steal accounts and use those to move stolen funds through them. There's a variety of things that you can do with an account that's taken over. And it's not all just cash-based because, again, criminals commit crime online because of status, cash, or ideological types of attacks. So you've got a host of different types of attackers out there that are looking at taking over accounts for a variety of reasons. What Ori just pointed out, and this is what's really important, what Ori just pointed out is, hey, we're able to verify that specific driver's license through the DMV. Now,
Correct.
What's interesting on that is that one of the things that I used to rely on and that criminals today rely on when we're stealing identities is that typically, not typically, historically, a vendor has not been able to verify the driver's license as being a real driver's license. So because of that, it's very easy for me to create a fake driver's license or steal someone's information, put the correct information on that driver's license, just my face on it, and I can typically get away with those crimes. The way that identity is usually, or that type of verification service usually works in an online environment is you're part of a consortium and someplace that ID has been scanned somewhere, and hopefully that company is part of the consortium and they're able to verify like that. But that is a very tenuous, at best, way to verify whether a driver's license is real or not.
Correct.
So you and your company able to actually access DMVs, that is a bit of a game changer.
It is. And I want to add two things to what you said. There's one more reasons why cyber criminals do what they do, and it's for bragging rights. I've met some kids who do it just because they can go to DEF CON or Black Hat and just say, hey, I've done this breach, right? Just to get street creds.
Right.
And the second thing is I want to be, again, if you're technical and you're in the field, I want to be very crisp so you don't think there's like a, snake oil here. The way I used to be the head of risk of one of the largest credit card companies. I've done this for a living. You would buy software that would allow you to say, does this driver license has the format, has the template, as they say, of the state that it belongs to? Because if you live in somewhere outside the United States and you just make all the driver licenses look the same, you're going to fail that test. So that is called a fraud check or fraud detection check. It is not going back to the authoritative source to ask, hey, have you issued this thing? Do you have this? It is a proxy to the truth. It's good. Don't get me wrong. It was good for years, but it was because the DMVs were not able to give us this answer. It was hard to get into the DMVs. Let me tell you, it took 2 years for me to get the first state. But more importantly, is you said something that, again, I want to take a moment, pause for effect, because Brett, you said something that is just profound, but I don't know that people in our industry are realizing it.
Sure.
When we talk about these consortiums, that everyone relies on the person who came before them to say, well, if they have accepted it, it must be good. But if the first person in the chain accepted something that is bad, we're all now following a blind person.
Right.
That's my point. I understand that there's safety in numbers. I totally get that. And statistics, and I understand how the world works. But it is not checking if this thing is real. It is saying, what are the odds that it's real? And if you want to be in the game of odds, good, I get that. But with Gen AI deepfakes, you are dead. Because the odds are they'll make a better fake than the real that you think you had. That's where we are.
I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right. When I was that bad guy, when we made a fake driver's license back then, we you would have to get someone to send you their driver's license. You'd have to acquire one for the state, and then you'd sit down with Photoshop. You did not have the fonts, so you had to create the fonts. You typically didn't. There were two ways to make it. You got to either go with Teslin or you could go with PVC. If you went with PVC, you had to get a PVC card printer, which those things you have to jump through a lot of hoops to do it, and they're costly. So typically, a lot of new ID makers, they would not go with PVC. They would go with Teslin. So it's easy to go down to the art shop, get a couple pieces of Teslin, put some paper between it, heat it, comes up kind of sort of like PVC at that point. Exactly. So that's what we used to do. And then when we got the, for the holograms, we didn't have multi-spectrum holograms. So we went back to the art shop and bought some gold dust and sprinkled it on there, and it tried to make the hologram out of that. And that's typically the way that worked. All right. Over time, things got better. As the tech got better, we started to be able to, the fonts were there because everyone had been building on them and things like that. And then you got multi-spectrum holograms from that point, and PVC card printers became a little bit more accessible and things like that. And these days, IDs, without even including generative IDs, fake IDs these days are extremely well done. All right. Yeah. Extremely well done. Now you add in generative AI because, believe it or not, these days, criminals, they don't really need a physical fake ID. They just need an online copy of it. So you're adding generative AI, it becomes much easier to take selfies with that ID, to take a liveness detection video with that ID, whatever you need. So it's, as you pointed out, the consortiums, if the first person in that chain says that everything is all right, then everyone who follows after that is following a lie, a fraud.
Exactly. I just put a link. I don't know if you or the director can load it and see.
Sure.
It's an article that shows the state of the art of Gen AI driver licenses. And they're giving you one example and asking you, would you be able to tell this is not real?
Here we go.
Yeah, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see this is what it looks like.
Right.
If I send you this picture, you have no idea if this is real or not.
Not a clue. But meanwhile, the background is absolutely fake. The driver's license is fake. Everything else is fake. It's all generated. Everything.
It's all generated, including the face. There's no human like that.
So
like
there
a lot
you
of
go.
people think, oh, but the guy. I'm like, no, the guy is also AI generated. It's like,
right.
There's no way to know. And that's what I'm worried about. We're now in a period that the playing field is tilted so badly towards people who just have the wrong moral compass. Because the tools that are out there, I know we think about the wonderful world and how AI will make everything wonderful. I don't doubt that. But at the same time, just like fire can burn a city or warm you up, and nuclear energy can give you power or destroy something, AI is the same thing. You can do wonderful things with it and save humanity, and you can do the best fraud attacks we've ever seen. Okay, so Mr. Director, what is your name?
Brian.
Brian. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll instruct you step by step.
Sure, I'm ready.
Okay, so go to Trusona.com. Mm-hmm. And on the upper right corner, there's a thing called Try Now.
Okay.
So click that. Okay. Here, give it any email you want. Email, personal email, work email, as long as we can send you the 6-digit OTP.
Okay.
And then you will be in our ATO Protect service. Now, for the audience at home, that will be in a bigger size, right? I see it as one of the windows on the screen. But,
yes.
Okay, sounds good. All right, here you don't need to create a passkey if you don't want to, even though that is our first technology to create a passwordless world. You can just skip for now if you want. And you will be in this tool. The yellow bar tells you that you have 6 transactions a month. We will give you unlimited because, if you're a host. Here we go.
Oh, I'm going to be pulling up all kinds of shit.
Yeah. Mom, I need to verify it's you.
That's right. Mother, we know you're a criminal.
Yes. All right. So here on the right, there's a 2-minute video. You don't have to play it now. That's the video that I think Brett was talking about. Okay. But let's do it for reals.
Right.
Okay? So in this demonstration, I'm going to ask a simple question. How do you know that I'm not a very good trained AI model on this guy called Ori Eisen?
I don't.
You don't.
Yeah.
Right.
You
you could very
don't.
well be that NVIDIA guy. Everyone still says that he was a deep fake.
Yeah, well, here we go. So the way you would do it is you see that you have a drop down there of document type. There are 3 different options of US or Canadian driver license. Do you see that drop down? There's a UK driver license or passport. I will be using my Arizona driver license, so leave it on the first option and click Trusonify. You can see the instructions there. Send this to the caller and tell him to scan the back of the driver license. You see there's a URL there. You simply copy the link, click that purple button, and put it here in the chat room. So I can get it. You could as easily text it to me, email it to me, send it with a dove. It doesn't matter.
Send it with a dove, strap it on the back of a sea turtle.
Sea turtle.
Yes, sir. Okay, let me now get this link for you. It ends with 6E2. I think the audience can see that. And now I'm just bringing it to my phone.
Okay.
I prepared for this call, just so you'll see. So side note, again, you want to use this as bloopers? Brett, this for you. My engineer.
You know I do.
I tell my engineers who you are, what we're going to do, and they say, you're going to do what now?
Yeah.
Do you realize that everybody on this show will see your driver license information? I'm like, quick, blurt it.
Exactly right.
So we added this feature before this. So here's what I want you to see. Scroll down a little bit.
Scroll down a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Like not every. We don't want everything to
Don't
be
go all
shown.
the way yet.
Yeah, right. That's right. Slowly, slow. What you see here, by the way, before I scan my document, is based on IP geolocation and JavaScript and all that jazz. Some device information about me and where I'm located. Okay. Now my phone, I'll just put it here. If you can record it later and do a cut, tells me to scan the back of my driver license. Okay. So I'm going to do this in front of you. I'm going to allow the camera to get access to the browser. Note that in every single scene, I'm covering it, so I don't want the other people to get the wrong idea. I am not going to scan the front because I already showed you with the link before. This could be completely BS.
Sure.
So all I'm doing is I'm just scanning the back, that barcode, with my phone, just like that. I'm then getting a scan successful notice, and you on your end will get all the information that you need about me. So let me tell you what not to click. Scroll up a little bit.
Tell you what not to click.
Yeah. This is what. Okay. Do you see the button? Take your hands off the mouse. Do you see? Step away from the vehicle, sir. Step away from the browser. Okay. Do not click the show data button.
Do not click that show data. Whatever you do, don't click that.
No. Or if you do click it, I'll tell Brett, I'll show you mine, you'll show me yours.
Well, I tell you what, it's a damn good thing that Brian's got it, because that would have been the first thing I would have clicked.
I'm very responsible.
Yeah. Brian, why do you think I'm giving you the honors? Okay.
This is crazy.
Yeah. So as you can see, literally, if you click on it, which I'm asking you not to, you will see my full name, full date of birth, address, also what I had for lunch yesterday. But if you scroll down, you'll see that this is not good enough still, because I could have encoded this data into the bark, right? So you see there's 2 purple buttons. One's called DMV, one called MNO. Click on the DMV button. This one is what we talked about. We'll go live to the DMV in front of you, real time, and ask them a simple question. Do you have this document with this data in your records where it matters?
Right.
And as you can see, that's the only way to know that it's real. And another test we offer is the MNO, that stands for Mobile Network Operator. If you click on that, I'll give you my phone number. And when you click check, it takes the identity I already scanned and already went to the DMV to tell you it's real. And they say, this phone number belongs and paid for by Ori Eisen. Now you have every reason to think that it's me.
Wow.
Okay. Now, Brian, we're going to do something here that we have never recorded. Okay. And Brett, I told you I'm going to do something special for you.
You did.
Ready? Brian,
Ready.
We're now going to simulate a real crime on this show. Simulate, I said. I just showed you that it can tell you that it's me. And that's amazing. But let me show you what a real criminal would do. So scroll up. There's a plus new button on the upper right side to start a new transaction. Yeah, click OK. In this demonstration, Brett will call you, Brian, and say, "Hi, I'm Ori Eisen, and I would like to not show up for this podcast," because he just doesn't want me to be on there. And you will say, "Okay, Ori, you don't sound exactly like Ori, but okay, fine. How about I'll send you a link where you will verify to me that it's you." Make sense? Right. So you would click the Trusonify button. You would click copy link, and you will send it to Brett because he said he's me, right?
Right.
So send it to him, but let him get it on his phone until he gets to the screen that says scan your ID. And I want all of us to pause there.
Because I'm on the screen where it says scan your ID.
Okay. You agree you don't have my ID yet?
I agree. I have not stolen it yet.
Yes. Yeah. Look, I add yet to a lot of things. All right. Enough with the jokes.
He says that's enough of you, Johnson.
And I think about the next one. All right, never mind. So what Brett can't do, as we showed already, he can't just make a Kakamami ID and pass this test.
Right.
So here's what he's going to do, Brian. He's going to tell you, "Oh, somebody's at the door. F-15's over my head. Like I told you before, my baby's crying, dog is barking." Anything to put you on a quick mute, okay? Mm-hmm. And he's going to call me on his phone and say, "Hi, Ori. This is Brian from the most famous podcast ever with that guy." You know, that guy. That guy.
Okay.
Yeah. And we need to verify your identity before you go on the show. So here's the link for you to do that. So Brett is literally playing what's called a man in the middle because he wants me to scan it for him.
But in a completely clean way, man in the middle.
Exactly. So if you don't mind, send me the same link here in chat.
Okay.
That will simulate Brett sending it to me. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I really want to be on the show with the guy. So let me scan my ID."
That's the guy.
Yeah.
That's the guy.
Yeah. Okay. So this one ends with 48A. Okay. That's the link you just sent. And let me show you something. Once I fall for his lure, right, and I say, "Ooh, I want to scan because I want to be on the show," I want you to see what will happen. So I just scanned, okay? Mm-hmm. And now I want you to scroll down slowly to the map.
Slowly.
To the map, all the way, and I want you to see something.
Ah!
What do you see?
3 locations.
There are 2 at least nodes that are touching this link, which tells you there is no one identity on this phone call.
Right.
Do you see that? Mm-hmm. Because he moved the link that you sent him, that means he couldn't have scanned it. And that tells you not only that there's a man in the middle attack, it tells you who the victim is, which is the last person to touch it.
Wow.
And just let me pause here so that people can understand how effective this is. During the pandemic, this specific attack was how, and I won't say the name of the company, but there's a company that provides ID services that I've been attacking for a while that provides ID services that has the IRS and different government agencies, but they were also providing security for most of the 50 states that were being hit with unemployment fraud during the pandemic. And this is exactly the type of attack that they used that was highly successful. So what you're showing me right now, this absolutely destroys that attack. It will not work using this product at all.
I totally agree. If you don't mind, one little plug to all my competitors. This is patent pending. You were warned.
You were warned.
Now back to our regularly scheduled program.
You can get on the Ori bus, or by God, you're walking.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love it how people say, "Oh my God, that's genius. Guys, code it for me." I'm like, wait. There's something called intellectual property.
Wait. You're not coding. You're buying it is what you're doing.
Well, you can.
If you're good, I might license it to you.
Yes, exactly.
So Ori, I mean, this is And this is what really impressed me, especially that what you showed just there. All right, because what we usually see with ATOs, I mean, you will see someone steal someone's identity, and absolutely, it's not going to show up in the right area. So for you to be able to mix all these things together, I'm assuming that you can show SIM swaps that have taken place.
That's absolutely right. We are also showing SIM swap. There's also another service in certain countries that tells you that the phone number that just loaded this URL is the number in session. I mean,
nice.
That's how cool you can get, but it's not available in every country, but yes.
Is it available in the United States?
It is.
Yes! We're doing something. That's better than...
Yeah, it's available in 10 different countries. I want to say one last thing. We talked about democratizing security, and I don't want to just talk about it. If you're watching this show, this thing I just showed and Brian just demoed with Brett is available for free every month, 6 transactions. Why? Because I don't want to hear about another breach that you say, oh, I didn't have budget for this.
Right.
There is no budget for this. There's in the most risky calls you get or the things you're not sure about, just use this tool. We're bankrolling it. We're paying the fees to the DMV for these. But one day when you grow and you have enough money, you can pay for that and for other smaller kids, right? But do not say, I don't have money for security. We're giving some of it for free because otherwise, what are we doing? It's like you'd go to a doctor and he will never treat you, right? Or you'll be on a plane getting a heart attack and say, is there a doctor? He goes, yes, could you please fill this form? Do you have insurance? Do you have money? Like, it doesn't work this way. We are trying to fix something. And yes, we're a business and we need to survive. But first is fix the friggin' problem. It's a technical term. Look it up.
It's a friggin' problem. Technical. Giving it, free 6 free transactions. And
a month.
Right. Yep. And the thing is I consult with a lot of companies. I even do some free consultation every now and then. If someone just calls me, and they do sometimes, I've got a couple of chargeback companies that try to verify identities, and I help them as much as I can. But the thing is the way that I help them is nowhere near as effective as what you're doing with this product. That's the truth. I mean, the truth is if a company really if you've never used this product before, if you've got that identity and you're just not sure about, if you want to confirm whether it's real or not, by God, this product does that. Absolutely, it does that. Do try it out. I think that's a very smart business move on your end too, because as well as I do, somebody tries it out, they're going to say, that's effective. That works.
So I'll tell you a story. We are doing the authentication for one of the major cities in our country, light rail, okay? Shall remain nameless, cityless. They're calling us up and they say, hey, listen, we need to revoke this admin right for this person. And our guys say, yeah, that we'll do it. But we now have this new tool to make sure that you, the instructor who's telling us this, is really who you are. Otherwise, somebody else can do it. They were floored. Why? Because until this moment that you meet a tool like this, you don't know that you were blind or you thought about it. But once you use this tool, once you understand, oh my God, how did I open the door to all these other people just by asking, who are you? Jimmy, come in. I mean, all of a sudden you're like, wait a second. I need a way to know who's on the other end of the door, right? Or the other end of the communication. So this very company, even though we were not even selling this, Brett, asked, can we buy this? Or like whoever you guys buy it from, we're buying it from ourselves. Because they felt for the first time that, yes, you should not deactivate an admin account just because someone told you.
Right.
So that leads to, well, where can you use this tool? You can use it when someone calls your IT help desk and says, hi, I'm a new employee here. Give me access. You can use it if you're in the Bitcoin world or a bank that moves a lot of money and someone says, hey, this is the customer. Please move my money. How do you know that it's them and not a good fake of them?
Right.
If you go on a date and somebody may be catfishing you, right? How would you know who you're going on a date with, right? There's so many use cases. Like yesterday, one of the CISOs of a large company said to me, if I have an executive traveling and they're in a hotel and they say, I lost my phone and PC, send me everything. And by the way, also the security key, get it? I'm about to put in a FedEx envelope, like a perfect Trojan horse to get into my network. Wait, shouldn't you ask to make sure that this is your executive on the other side? It's cases like this that you really need to know. We call it when you truly need to know.
Right.
Just use it, because otherwise you'll be taken to the cleaners.
I mean, that's smart advice. It is. That's very smart advice. So let me ask you, you touched upon this. I touched upon it too. Criminals, and I still refer to myself as a criminal. I'm just not a guy who breaks the law anymore. But criminals, we tend to be very good about adapting. And this product that you've got will absolutely force criminals to do so. So the question that I've got is how do you anticipate criminals will respond to this? What will they do to try to overcome this?
If history is any, I love the question, by the way. As we said in the beginning, every 3 weeks we're going to see something new. Mm-hmm. At this point, the bad guys don't know we're coming with this. So we're going to, it's almost like shooting fish in a barrel, right? It will be very easy in the first so many weeks because they're just unprepared, okay? By the way, if you're listening to this show and you're planning on using it, take their device fingerprints while that's happening because they're not thinking about that, get it?
Right.
So when they're adapting or trying to adapt, you can say, okay, this is the same computer who tried to fool me with a driver license before. Aha. I think there's going to be a few attempts to try and make the document better because they're not exactly sure what we're doing. That will pass. There's going to be a few attempts to steal a little bit more data to pad the document, like, oh my God, we didn't have the expiration date, things like that. Maybe fish a little, but it doesn't matter. There's 31 values there that if you don't have all of them, the DMV will say, as you saw in the checkboxes,
sure,
we don't have this. So when the bad guys will get to that juncture, I think the only path is more social engineering, and that we cannot fix, unfortunately.
Right.
And as I said half an hour ago, if we get to a repeat, and I don't think it will happen, but if we ever got to a repeat breakage of this, either by breaching all the DMVs or every time I call you in social engineer and tell you, I don't have a driver license, okay, come in. If that ever happens, I don't know what else to do. Like, there is no next step because the United States has the best data about zip codes, about people. You go to any other country. Go to Sweden. Nothing. I can't even do the M&O check in Sweden. So you are left to believe people or to scan or to fax or to do all kinds of things that Gen AI is so much better than us at doing that I just don't have a good answer. So sorry, I don't have good news there. We have to think about that if you want to stay in business.
I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right. The product is ATO Protect. The today's guest is the outstanding. If you don't know that by now, by God, you should. Today's guest is Ori Eisen. He is he's an outstanding guy. He is. He's a very good man, a good human being, an outstanding professional and entrepreneur. I mean, you're kind of the Renaissance man on LinkedIn. So there's I've got a lot of respect for you, man. So people go to the Trusona website to try out ATO Protect, or where
you go to Trusona.com, Trusona. SONA, it's like true and persona put together. And there's a try now button on the upper side. As we said, 6 transactions free a month. So people cannot say, I did not have the money for this. There's no contract, by the way. There's no credit card. There's no gimmicks here. I know in many other software companies, you first put all your things, you pay us $7.99, and then you can cancel it. No. It doesn't work this way. We're giving it for free, period. No games.
By all means. And Ori gave use cases for individuals. He gave use cases for businesses. So by all means, try it out. I'm going to say when you try it out that you're going to say, damn, this is pretty damn good. I think I want to, more than 6 a month. Our company needs more. See, he's sold.
Yeah.
So
he now wants to verify every future.
Everybody.
I'm gonna verify Shana right now.
Exactly. Who are you? A pod person? All right, Ori Eisen, I appreciate you coming on, man. You, as I said, you are truly outstanding. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right, my friend. Stay safe. So we're wrapping things up with the criminal insight of the day. What's interesting, and Ori mentions this, I mentioned this as well. Criminals, we adapt to things. And I've talked about this again and again, but a criminal will not change the way that they are committing the crime, the method that they use. They will not change that unless something forces them to change that. If everything's working well, if they're successful, they're profitable, do not expect to change. It's when a change happens that we can see that criminal behavior change as well. Ori's product, ATO Protect. it absolutely will force that change. There's no doubt about it. What do I anticipate will happen? I anticipate that criminals will first try to determine if the victim that they're trying to defraud is using Ori's product. If they are, I think that they will initially avoid that, and then they will try over time. They'll start testing things to see if they can get by with and buy it. So that's what's going to happen. The insight of everything is always anticipate. If you have a company or a business that makes money, a criminal can and will make money off that same business. So know that, all right? Prepare for that. Know that when you put security in, that you need to have enough layers of security that a criminal has to jump through every single one of these hoops. Ori's products looks like it has a lot of different layers that a potential criminal has or a potential attacker has to jump through in order to succeed. So anticipate the attack, anticipate the adaptation of the attacker, and then move from there. Today's criminal insight. All right, so that is it for today's episode of Criminal Thoughts. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to tune in. I appreciate that, guys. I do. Since I turned my life around, I always wanted a TV show. I always wanted to be on TV, and I've talked to a lot of production companies, and they love the shit out of Brett Johnson. They don't like the scam space because they've tried that stuff, and it tends to fall on its ass. But they really like Bretty. The thing is that the type of show that I would want to be on, I'm on right the hell now with this show and with the Brett Johnson show. That's exactly what I would want to be doing on TV. Was bullshit like that. And I have fun with it. And I think that we send a good message. We educate, we entertain, we enlighten people as we go along. So that being said, if you agree with that, hit the subscribe button. If you don't agree with that, hit the subscribe button and tell me why you don't agree with it. Tell me what I can do to make things better. Tell me what type of topic you want me to talk about, and chances are I'll do that. If you're an asshole, chances are I'll delete the comment, try to block you, and never think about you again. So let's not do that, all right? But hey, subscribe. And know that I'm very appreciative for you taking the time to tune in. I really am. I appreciate it. So my name is Brett Johnson. This is the Criminal Thoughts Podcast. We're going to close things out. How do we do that? Well, stay safe out there. Stay secure. Stay vigilant. And at the end of the day, just do the right damn thing. My name is Brett Johnson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time.